So, hello everyone. Welcome to the session with TAVIP. It's called a masterclass according to the newsletter. So I will endeavour to
Blame
deliver
Julia, not me.
on that. So if you're on a computer, so a Windows computer or a Mac device or a tablet, you'll notice that the call is being recorded, so you need to press the Got It button before you can access
Oh,
any of
yes.
the keystrokes, mute and unmute and raise your hand and chat and all the lovely things.
Yeah, that's
So
key, folks. You must do it.
if you're on uh if you're on a smart device, you need to swipe to the Got It button. If you're on a computing device of some kind, then it's tabbed the Got It button. If it's not on your screen, you need to press F6 until it appears. So the plan for this evening is to talk you through the very basics of Zoom, so muting, unmuting, and raising and lowering your hand and turning your video off and on, and the chat feature and sharing screen, all those basic things. I also want to talk through the difference between meeting and webinar and the different devices, including landlines. And then what we really want to do is give you the space to experiment and try all these different actions. And then we want to play a little bit with breakouts because sometimes people feel awkward with joining them or coming back into the room and all that kind of thing. So we want to play with that. And then if there's time after that, I had feedback a few weeks ago that people wanted to play with being host. So I will talk you through the basics of that, but if there's time. But I think the most important bit is to get you through the basics and be comfortable with all of that. So how this will play out is I will describe the different keystrokes and things for the different devices and then give space for questions and then experimenting and all of that. So with muting and unmuting or raising and lowering your hand, they're toggle functions. So you only have to remember one keystroke, for example, raising or lowering your hand or muting and unmuting yourself or turning the video off and on, etc. So on a Windows computer, it's Alt-A to mute or unmute yourself. On a Mac, it's Command-Shift-A. On the app in a smart device, then muting and unmuting is in the lower left corner and it's double tap. On a landline, it's *6. To raise or lower your hand, on a Windows computer, it's Alt-Y. On a Mac, it's Options-Y. In the app, it's in the lower right-hand corner. And this will change sometimes. So sometimes it'll be raise hand, but other times it will be under reaction. So you double tap and then swipe to raised hand. But whichever option it ends up being in your tablet / iPhone / Android / whatever, it will always be in the right-hand corner or the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. On a landline, it's *9 to raise or lower your hand.
*9.
So I'll repeat this if anyone needs it repeating. So you don't need to write them down, and it's being recorded as well.
Which you we could send a list, Sandra, if you want to send us one. I can send one to all members afterwards.
Oh, goody. Right, okay. And one I picked up recently is turning your video off and on. So in the fun blind people events, we don't really have to bother with that. But unless you've been living under a rock for the last few years, you do have to enter
Alt-V
Zoom rooms with other sighted people and so on, and that's Alt-V. I don't know what it is on a Mac. My guess is it is Command-Shift-V, but don't quote me on that.
Anyone Mac user here? No. Okay. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Obviously on a landline you can't do that because there's no video option on that. On a smart device, iPhone, Android, tablets, and all the rest of it, it is swipe right. So let's say mute is in the lower left corner. Then you swipe a couple of times to get to video, or it might be once, and then you double tap that to be on or off. The participants list is Alt-U. on the computer. You don't have an option for the participants list on a landline. On the smart device, you just swipe right and it's almost at the end of the list of options. So after raised hand and everything. And then you double tap that and it will arrow through the participants list. So that's if you want to, it will say the person's name and what their function is. So let's say if you pressed Alt U now and looked for my name, you would see that I'm the host. If you looked at TAVIP, it would see that it was the co-host. It'll also say whether somebody is muted or unmuted or whether their video is on. And sometimes people will have no audio connected or no video connected, for example.
More options for TAVIP button drop down. Invite left pair, remove plus I right pair, mute me button.
I was just
more options
waiting for that interesting interlude to finish.
Ematel, Philip Joel, computer audio, Adria,
not prepared to talk over that.
Computer audio muted, video. Alan Fitzjohn has joined the meeting. For me, computer audio muted, video off.
Do you want to explain what's going on, Sandra? Or you've got someone, presumably the screen reader, that can be heard and not using a microphone.
Yeah, I've just muted the person who I think it is.
Is it Alan? Right, poor chap.
No, there's no reason to name people, you know. I'm just going through and muting people because it's easier if we're muted until the presentation bit is finished. Right, so I want to just talk quickly about the difference between meeting and webinar. So what we are in at the moment is a meeting room, which is a standard Zoom room. So everything I have said will carry. So in a webinar, and we've been in lots of different webinar type things. So if anyone's been to a Sight and Sound webinar Wednesday or anything like that, that is a webinar. And when you enter it, so it's being recorded, and you'll hear probably an American accent telling you that it's being recorded. You don't actually have to do anything to acknowledge the recording in a webinar. In a meeting room, you do. You have to press the Got It button, and we went through all that earlier on. You do not have access to mute or unmute functionality in a webinar until the host gives you permission to speak. And that will appear as a pop-up on your screen. So on the computer, you would tab to mute or unmute once you've been given permission. On a smart device, you would swipe to mute or unmute yourself. And it will stay on the screen. So until you are ready to unmute, because sometimes people will put you in a queue or unmute 2 or 3 people at once and ask you not to unmute until you've been called upon. That tends to be the language around that. And you don't have to worry about, it's not like the Got It button that might disappear off the screen if you're not quick enough. It will stay on the screen. So jumping backwards a bit, all of this will only work if you have the account, if you have a Zoom account, and if you enter a Zoom meeting or webinar through the app, not the website. Officially, the website and the app have identical functionality and accessibility, blah, 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 and it doesn't work. I've tried the app, or the website rather, and have found that I couldn't really do anything, couldn't raise my hand or mute and unmute myself, nothing. And I thought it was just me, and it isn't me. Other people have tried it from the blind fraternity, and it didn't work. So you must have the app. It's free to download. It's free to set up an account. If people haven't done that, I can talk you through how to do that. It's www.zoom.us, as in Uniform Sierra. And that's the website, and you select basic account because you've no reason to pay for it unless you are running meetings that need multiple people in them for an unspecified amount of time and all the rest of it. But a basic account will let you into different meetings. And that's, as I say, that is free. And it's fairly straightforward. There's a few drop-down menus in terms of selecting different bits for yourself, but they aren't a problem because it's not different like spin boxes and things. The only slightly messy bit is the date of birth and so on. And this is where it gets slightly fun, because JAWS plays merry hell and NVDA is fine with it. Sorry. I'm speaking as someone who's sort of been playing with both of them. And I've struggled with the sort of calendar functions of different things for years. And then NVDA is like, yeah, that's all fine. So that's how to set that up. So you must have the app, and then you can use all these things. So before I carry on with share screen and all that and the chat, has anyone got any questions about anything I have said? You can unmute yourselves now, or like raise your hand to ask. Good practice.
Gary has.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, I just want to point out, you mentioned about on a tablet or a smartphone that it's a double tap. That's only if you're using a screen reader or voiceover or talkback, isn't it? So
yes, if you're using magnification, then it's not double tap.
Yeah, because otherwise that would just toggle something on then off again.
Yes,
or vice versa.
I utterly apologise for that.
Yeah.
I was assuming that everyone was using this program, and of course, not everyone does.
That's fine.
So,
that's fine.
Yeah. If you want to lower your hand, you can press Alt Y, or
As Gary's just done.
go for it.
Adria has raised her hand. Or him.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, it's Adrian Picton. I'm coming up as Adria because I've got an account, but I've forgotten the password for it.
And rename yourself.
Fun?
You can rename yourself in the meeting.
Yeah, well, you can tell me how to do that if you like.
Okay.
But so I can't get into my account at the moment. But what is, when you're not hosting a meeting or whatever? What I want to ask you is, what's the difference when you're partaking in a meeting? If you've logged in or you're not logged in?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Are you talking about the difference between the app and the website?
No, if you're on, just say you're on the computer, to keep it simple, like I am now, but I'm not logged into my Amazon, what's it called, Zoom account.
Yeah, I think you don't have to be logged in to enter a meeting.
No, I know. But what I mean is, you were talking before about setting up an account, a Zoom account. What are the advantages of it if you're not hosting a meeting yourself? Is what I'm trying to. What functions does it limit you when you're taking part in a meeting?
Well, if you have the account, then you can download the app, basically.
You don't have to have an account to download the app. At least I don't think you do.
It's easier. It's easier to use the app if you have an account,
right?
Because when you enter the app, it does ask you to sign in.
Yeah, but you can just click on a meeting link and it'll still let you in.
Yes.
But
if there's any problems, it is.
You think it's more reliable, do you?
It's preferable. Like I in my internal monologue, I'm like, why would you leave yourself open to, like, if there was a problem with it or if it wanted to update? I mean, I've had that where I've pressed enter on a Zoom link, join this meeting. Oh, I'm 5 minutes early, and then Zoom wants to do an update that takes more than that time. And then, right, okay, we're ready. Just sign in now.
So on the computer, it doesn't make much difference then.
It doesn't. I mean, if everything is going to plan, but if you're in a situation like that where you've been forced to update or just about anything, and it asks you to sign in to join whatever it is, then you've left yourself kind of. I mean, like, if you've forgotten your password, you can just tell it you've forgotten it, and it will just reassign a password.
I need to do
that. It's not an insuperable barrier.
You mean if you get chucked out of a meeting, if you're signed into Zoom, it remembers what meeting you're in and lets you back in again when it restarts? Is that what you mean?
I don't think so. No, I was talking about with forced updates or crashes and things like that.
Yeah.
And then it might trigger a sign-in request, which if you don't have an account, it will ask you to sign up for one.
So how do I change my name for now then?
You just tab where you are, and then ooh, cool! 3 participants have raised hand.
Indeed. Mark being the first.
Yeah, one sec.
Oh,
so
put his hand down.
if you tab to your own options, like so tab once from where you are and tell me what happens.
Audio settings. It always needs to go to that. Audio setting. Start my video. Video setting. Close open participants. Is that what I want? To click on myself in there?
You could try it.
Because you can.
Yeah, just go to your own name and then tab to more options.
Oh,
it's normally Shift tab, isn't it?
Mute.
Back.
No. More options. Oh yeah.
Yeah, more options.
Rename. Thank you. Yeah, got it.
Great.
And then on the end of your name now.
No,
and then press enter to save it. That'll just be for this meeting. It won't be forever.
No, indeed.
You'll have to be in your account to do that.
Point made.
We can't do what?
To rename yourself permanently. So you've renamed yourself now, and that will be for this meeting. The next meeting you go in, you'll be Adria again. If you want
I tried
to rename
make it go to the end of my name, it wouldn't, so it's come as Nadria. I'm just going to delete it and start again.
Yeah, go for it. Start again. What I'm saying is, if you want to rename yourself permanently, you will need to be in your Zoom account to do that. You're renaming yourself now, and that's just good for this meeting. The next meeting you'll be revert back to the previous name. All right.
Still can't do it right. Adrian and Nadria.
Don't worry. Cool.
Well, we'll let you get on with that, and you can mute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can we go to Mark, Sandra? Because he's mega patient.
Hello, Mark.
Is he muted? Oh. Oh, what's happened? It's frozen.
You can press Alt-A to unmute yourself, Mark. The host can't do it for you.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, it didn't seem to work the first time.
Okay.
We know the feeling.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
You said something very useful about killing the waiting room. Now, I would like to be able to do that because sometimes it's a nuisance. So, as a host, you can stop the waiting room then.
You can. It's in security settings. So, if you are the host of a meeting, you would tab to security settings, and then you arrow down that list. You don't have to press enter on it. You just arrow down that list, and in that list will be waiting room, and it's a checkbox. It'll say whether it's off or on, like waiting room checked, and if it's checked, then
presumably people will just drop straight in then. If they
will.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's useful.
Sometimes you don't want that, but
sometimes you do. Yeah.
I think it can be very useful.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, like I work with a lot of sighted people, and when I'm hosting my own meetings, I'm thinking, oh, I've got time to pour a glass of water or lean over and plug my computer in, and then, hello, Sandra, and my body parts are fully on the screen because I've leant over to plug something in. So at least with the waiting room, I have advance notice and I can look presentable. But yes, that is how you turn the waiting room on. Okay.
We've got Alan.
Hello, Alan.
Does he need to do Alt-A? Depending what device he's on. What does it say? Hang on. Audio muted, so he's muted at the moment. You can press space, can't you, to temporarily unmute, which is also good.
It is good. It's a bit temporary, and then the speech program tends to talk over it, telling you what you've done.
Oh, you've become Adrian now. Maybe we'll let Alan. Anyone else got raised hands? I think I only got a number after a point.
You can go into participants as Alt-U, and it will tell you which hands are raised.
Oh, Tina's got a question. Tina.
Okay.
Is her. Right. Well done, Mark. Thanks. Is Tina muted or? Yeah, she's muted as well.
Yeah, it's Alt-A, Tina. Or if you're on a landline, it's *6. Or if you're on a smart device, lower left corner.
Great stuff. It's easily done, isn't it?
Yeah. If you didn't press the got it button at the beginning,
yes.
You won't be able to mute or unmute yourself. So if that isn't on the screen right now, press F6 until it appears on your screen. and then tab to the got it button. That might be what people are having a problem with.
Yeah, I think that happens quite often. Right. Yeah. And she's still.
So it's Tina and Alan at the moment with hands up.
Is his video? Yeah, Alan, you're still muted. Tina, you're still muted.
They are.
Hello.
Hello. Yay! It worked.
Who's that, Tina?
Sorry, it's Tina.
Yeah.
I'm on an Android device.
Okay.
The options are, it is a bit of a laugh. I had to get my husband to connect me because it didn't give us the option of an Android device because I'm on a Braille Note Touch Plus.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So you actually have to find the more button. You have to go down the arrow down till you find it, and then you get the choices. So it's a bit more awkward. So that's why it took me a long while to unmute.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought Android and Apple work the same in that sense of, swiping to the different options.
Yeah. Well, I don't actually swipe because mine's a
Braille
Note Touch Plus, you see. So I have to use the Braille because I can't use the screen at the moment. So,
Thanks for telling us that.
That's all right. So it would be handy. Now, when I wanted to join, because I had to get my husband, because when I went to do it through Zoom, it wouldn't let me. And I can't work it out now because Zoom's all changed. Because I used to go to the, where it said meeting ID, and then it said previous meetings, and I'd enter on that, and then I'd find the TAVIP room. But now it's not even giving me that, so I don't know what I've got to do.
You didn't get in through the email?
Well, I tried. I think my husband might have managed to get in through the email eventually, but it took me a while. So I missed the beginning bit of it.
Okay.
So is there going to be a handout on this meeting or not?
I think there's pressure building for one, yeah. Yeah.
It'd be great if there could be and someone could email it, because then at least I'll be able to listen to it or read it or whatever.
Welcome, Patricia.
Yes. There will be a handout.
There will be.
Yes.
Good. And have you told us how we can properly exit? Because I know it just comes to leave, and if I don't get to that, it just, when the meeting's finished, it just goes off. And Ian said, "Oh, you still got this running and still got that running and still got that running," and I don't know how to stop everything from running.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't tell you how to leave, actually. So it's Alt-Q.
Indeed, quit.
And then that will
I haven't got an Alt. I've got a Braille keyboard.
Yeah.
There'll be a tab.
I'm just thinking aloud because on smart devices, leave is permanently on the screen. It's just the left of mute.
Oh, right.
And unmute.
Yeah,
So.
but do you just press leave and it should shut it down properly or not?
You leave the meeting.
It should close the meeting, whether it closes your Zoom. I know on the computer it doesn't close Zoom, it just closes the meeting.
Oh, that might be what Ian's on about then. I'm not closing Zoom.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of tabs. There's a post-Zoom tab, and the launch tab is still open as well on my computer.
So do you still have to go into Zoom then after you've left a meeting to try and
turn it off,
come out of the thing or not?
I would. On the computer, it's all just still sitting there, so I can after I leave a meeting, I close the different tabs. There's at least a minimum of 2 tabs still left open.
Oh, so that's probably what I'm doing wrong then. That's probably because I don't do that.
Because even if you don't leave the meeting and the meeting ends, you're still thrown out of the meeting. The meeting,
I know that.
But your Zoom tabs are still left open. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll have to find out how I can work that out on this device.
That's the same on tablets and smartphones and things as well. So.
Well, it is like a tablet. It's like an Android Touch thing. So
it is. It's on the Android platform. I'm not sure which version it is. It's generally a few versions behind the current version.
Yeah, I
and
can't
that
remember.
might explain some of your problems.
Yeah.
Operating.
Sorry, I can't remember. I just thought I'd ask while I'm on. Anyway, I better let you go on to somebody else now. And if I think of anything else, I'll just raise my hand again.
Yeah, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's good practice.
But don't panic if I don't unmute straight away, because it takes me a little while to get around to it.
We will bear that in mind. Thank you for
thank you very much.
I forgot what I was actually going to say. Yes, when I've been on my Apple device, I don't know if we can say proper names or not on here. So you'll have to let me know, Jeff, if we're able to say product names or not.
I mean, if it's for information, I'm not going to get,
Okay,
I don't consider that advertising. If you're giving information that promotes access, that's fine with me.
Okay, so when I've been on my iPhone and I haven't left, I've just, let's say, had the phone on the side and washing my hands at the same time or something, and left a meeting on, and people have said goodbye till the cows come home. And then it says leave, alert, leave the meeting. The meeting is over and I'm out of the meeting. And you can tell because the speech program comes out of its telephone voice and sounds like it's coming out of the full speakers again. The Zoom is still active because you're still in Zoom. So you need to actually shut Zoom down.
Okay. Do you want me to mute myself again?
Yeah, cool. Unless you've got a question.
I can't think of one at the moment.
No problem.
So just in case, anybody else wants to ask anything, you see. Well, thanks anyway for that information. And if I think of anything else, I can just ask. I'll just raise my hand again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll let you carry on.
Eleanor wants to ask something. Eleanor T.
Yeah.
Eleanor, far away. She unmuted. Yeah, hang on. Oh, you're muted. Alt-A, did you tap? If you're using a PC, did you tap to the got it button? Not sure. No, she's still muted, Sandra.
It says you're unmuted now, actually.
Good. What actually happened was that the focus had drifted into another window, which does sometimes happen.
You know the feeling.
I am an experienced, totally blind user of Zoom. Most of what you say that applies to Windows, I already know, but I'm currently writing an article, a more general article, about making Zoom meetings accessible. And I don't really know how to make Zoom meetings more accessible for partially sighted people. I wonder if anyone could give me any tips, things that could be included in my article.
There's magnification options within Zoom. There really isn't much you can do because there's no sort of color contrast options in there. They're the only things you can really do to make it more accessible. I would suggest for the partially sighted fraternity to explore with Zoom functions, as in Zoom on their screen, the technical term for magnifying different things, and playing with the color contrast on their actual computer/smart device. Because Zoom itself doesn't do an awful lot apart from making stuff bigger or smaller.
But there are viewing options, aren't there? You can switch between speaker view and gallery view, and you can pin things.
Yeah, that's to, if you want, so speaker view, whoever is speaking, their face will appear full view.
All right.
And gallery view, everyone will appear in a gallery or sort of photo selection. Which is useful, I suppose, if you've got like a 50 plus room, even a 20 plus room that we're in now. But I was talking about, seeing the icons for different functions, as in muting and raising your hand and video and all the functions you want. That's what I was talking about in terms of making the text bigger or smaller or changing the color contrast. Speaker view, gallery view, that really is for everyone, as opposed to partially sighted people. So a lot of sighted people find it quite difficult to see their own face continually, which is why gallery view is a good option. Speaker view is good as well, but if it's two people, then that sighted person is seeing their own face.
But would Zoom on if you configured your windows appropriately, wouldn't Zoom honour some of that, or wouldn't it?
Honour some of what? Sorry, contrast
on contrast, and if you'd done certain things in Windows to make it accessible to yourself, and you went into Zoom,
it should do.
It should do.
Exactly. I don't really want to speak for Zoom, to be honest.
No, okay. Any other folk know anything? Anyone got useful vision in the group and does stuff with Zoom? Okay, fire away, Gary.
The Alt F1 displays speaker view, and Alt F2 is gallery view.
Right.
And when you're in speaker view, you can press Alt and F, and it will give you a full screen image, so you can see the person's in much clearer detail if you've got some vision to do that. That is. But generally, I mean, I think it's best to have it in speaker view, personally. Having that little grid there is a bit awkward. Makes no difference to what you can hear at all.
Yeah, you mean if you had poor sight, you wouldn't be able to see all the detail of loads of people as opposed to,
just have the one speaker. And as soon as somebody speaks, that person's face comes into the frame.
I'm not sure how messy that gets when people are talking at once, like a bad episode of Jeremy Kyle.
Yeah, that's a bit more difficult, yeah.
And another one I forgot, and I'm not, you can't do this on a landline, but on the computer, if you've got JAWS, you can use Control-Shift-T to hear the name of the person who's speaking. It'll just say the name of the computer that it's registered, to be honest, rather than the person's name, but it should be one and the same thing a lot of the time. On smart devices, and correct me on this, it will just say it automatically, as in showing Sandra's avatar. That's what it tends to say. It tends to keep saying it, talking over the person speaking, but you will know who it is actually speaking. NVDA doesn't seem to have access to Control-Shift-T. It just doesn't say anything. So that's that. So if that's all the questions for now, I'll move on to share screen and chat.
Have I missed anyone, folks, who want to ask a question? No. Keep going, Sandra. Thank you.
I've just been lowering hands. We'll play with things like that if we get round to hosting and such like. So the chat on a landline, you can't do it. On smart devices, you just swipe right to the chat. So after mute and video, raise hand, chat seems to be either the last or nearly the last option. I meant to say I'm not talking about whiteboard because it's inaccessible to those of us who don't have residual vision for that. The partially sighted crowd, if you've got any insight about whiteboard, if you want to play with it, be my guest. Speech programs won't really entertain it. So it's really either a sighted thing or a not sighted thing. So that's the smart devices. On Windows, it's Alt-H. My guess on the Mac is Command-Shift-H, just based on the other keystrokes I know. Once you open the chat, even if you close it again, it will read absolutely everything to you. In a room where we're all respecting each other and not really using it, that's not a problem. But in a big group where, whether it's a meeting or webinar, it's the same keystrokes, by the way. But if it's a big group and loads of sighted people, and they're saying, use the chat, tell us all where you're from and all that. And then they start the presentation. It will go on and on and on and on. If you're on the computer and you haven't opened the chat in the first place, it won't read it to you. So just choose carefully whether you want to use it or not, because once you start using it, then you can't unring that bell, as it were. It'll keep talking. But if you've decided to use it, it's Alt-H, and then you enter your text and press enter. And the enter key will send the message. So don't use it to press a new line or anything. Just write everything you want to say in a continuous, unending, unbroken paragraph, as it were. If you want to make sure that everyone gets it, it's defaults to being sent to everyone. And if you want to send to a specific person, before you press enter to send your message, you tab, and there's an option, a sort of drop-down option to send to specific people. So in a webinar, it's sent to panelists or sent to attendees or sent to everyone. In a meeting room, it's just sent to specific people. But I would personally just keep it straightforward and just leave it as the default sent to everyone. If you want to say something to a specific person, I would just email them if I were you. And I know that's probably controversial, but if you want to start faffing with sending to a specific person, the conversation will have moved on by the time you've finished doing all that, because it is a drop-down menu and they are not fun, especially in Zoom when people are coming and going. When people are coming and going, if you land on something, it will then switch focus because people are coming and going. And you heard a bit of that earlier when Jeff and I were trying to do anything. It just wouldn't allow us to, because 1 minute you'd be on so-and-so's name and you're on so-and-so other's name because someone has entered the room or left the room or is speaking, also puts it off as well. So the faster you are at doing whatever it is, the less likely you'll be put off your focus. So your best bet is to press Alt-H, type your message and press enter and leave it at that. If you are in a webinar, then you tend to tab to the chat, but you can press Alt-H if you want. The difference is there, sometimes they will have a chat and they will also have a Q&A function. So they might say something like, put comments in the chat, or if you have questions, use the Q&A, or they might use the chat for questions and comments. The Q&A is a tab, there's no keystroke for it. You tab to it and press enter, and then it behaves slightly differently because you'll be put in a list of questions. So you will see different questions from other people, or even if there's just test ones. So you need to shift tab to find the edit box and then put your question in, and it will just go in. And it's even messier if you want to select panelists and attendees and all of that for your questions. I would just literally send it to everyone. So that is chat. Does anyone have any questions about that before I move on to share screen?
Are they allowed to unmute? Okay.
Hello, Eleanor.
Hello. Can the chat be saved?
That's a good
You can
question.
copy and paste it.
So if somebody leaves links in a chat during a meeting, is there a way that I can find those links after the meeting?
I personally ask for them to be sent as an email. I don't faff with that. But if you have to, you can arrow up and down and find the links and copy and paste that. You copy them and then paste them into a Word document or Notepad or similar. And just do that before the meeting ends. But people tend to be quite accommodating. Yeah, it's very
talking
difficult
in the meeting. I know
it is. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. And I tend to be quite vocal and insist that they're sent as an email, or read out if they're short enough. Like
yes, indeed.
Cats and dogs are us.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
It's John here.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Hello, Sandra. The question, when using the chat function, and like for you or Jeff that's doing between you, say we put something into the chat box, like a web address or something like that. Can you access them after the meeting is finished?
Like I said, you can copy and paste while the meeting is running. I don't really know. We got your test message. Thanks very much. I don't really know how to get stuff like that back. I have heard about people saving these things. It's easier in webinar than meetings to save material.
So like if you say give us a web address for whatever blah blah blah, and I want to get it. So you're saying while the meeting is going on,
copy and paste it somewhere else.
Copy and paste it as the meeting is current.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would, or even better, get the person to actually
like that. I've been using it for both the webinar and this sort of thing, and trying to get it. And like you're saying about this, when you're trying to do it and the speech is going off at the same time and they're jumping backwards and forwards.
Yeah,
I was wondering, could you do
Horrendous.
It after the session is finished?
Not once.
Well, it throws you out. So
that's
if it was your own meeting room, let's say you were the host and it was in your own account, then you could go back into the account and go into previous meetings and things like that. But
not if I wanted to get it back from this one once the meeting's finished. It's gone.
No.
That's what I just wanted to know.
You'd have to ask the owner of the session
redo it
to send you whatever it was.
That's lovely.
So I tend to do that myself. Yeah, you're going to tell me how to do it now.
No, Sandra, you can use Control A to get all the messages and just paste it into Notepad as well whilst the meeting's going on. That's a quick way of doing it.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you capture too much, you can get rid of it.
Say that again.
You can just do a Control A to cut all the text that's in the chat box and then just paste it into Notepad, and that will get all the chat messages, and then you just access the ones you want. But you've just got to do it whilst the meeting's taking place.
Yeah.
Have you got, Dave, just to clarify, Control A will highlight.
Yeah.
Have you then got to do Control C and then Control V?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Control A, Control C, and then paste it. Yeah. Sorry. Copy.
That's fine. Don't worry.
You had me going there. I thought, is this a new thing? I've never heard of that. Control A doing it all.
So what? You go Control A, get your message, Control C, and when you put it in where it's going, Control V.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's just making
because
sure.
Basically you're highlighting the lot, you're sending it away, and then you're bringing it back where you want it.
The normal way of doing it. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
No worries.
Jeff. Sandra, should say. Just to let you know, there is an option for saving the chat in the chat window. It's under more chat options. And then you can just choose save chat, and it saves it into your documents folder inside a folder called Zoom.
Right.
Ooh.
So that'd probably be a
Lots
better way.
of fun.
So
just for people's info, what we'll do is, if Sandra and Gary stay in touch with me, I'll make sure the two bits of information are joined together as and when, and we'll circulate that. So
great.
Okay.
Do you know what format it saves it in?
It's in text format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy days.
So it's just to clarify, it's in the folder called Zoom, which is inside your documents folder. And inside the Zoom folder, there's another folder with the current date.
Yeah. So how would that work on a smart device?
I'm not too sure you can do it on a smart device. I'm just thinking about a PC here.
Yes.
So Gary, the Zoom folder.
Yeah.
Does the system just make that, or have you got to create it?
It just makes it.
So you haven't got to worry about that. So there'll be a Zoom folder, and then there'll be a couple more folders. We'll let it find it.
Yeah, and then subsequent folders are all dated.
Okay.
Under the date of when the meeting took place. And
that sounds very neat.
And inside those folders, you've got the recordings as well, if you are recording the meeting.
Yeah, so if you've pressed, so the the owner of the session is recording this meeting, there's an option, I think, for participants to record to their own computers, and then that's where that would happen.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Keystrokes for that. I think it's Alt C to record. I think.
Alt R, isn't it, Sandra?
Alt C does something.
Yeah, it does. There's Alt C and Alt R. One of them is record to the cloud, and one of them is record to the computer, and I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure Alt C will record to the cloud, but don't actually hold me to that.
Oh dear. Right. Okay.
Right, we've got a few more hands raised.
Sorry?
Got a few more hands raised.
I thought they were the same ones as earlier, to be honest.
Oh, okay, fine. Just putting them down.
Has anyone got a question at the moment?
No, obviously we're up.
There's no lowering happening.
Yes, okay.
That's nice etiquette to, like, once you've actually
asked
I did raise my hand briefly just to say that the other option when you're in a chat, if you want to follow the chat but you don't want to you get interrupted by the new ones coming in, you can in your screen read you can set it so that the speech on demand is off so that it won't announce every chat that's coming in, but you can still scroll through them.
I find that option quite drastic because
but sometimes it's the only way, because you're trying to read stuff and then you can be interrupted by new stuff, so it's the only way you can deal with it. But nothing's perfect because sighted person can just look. I think Braille probably comes into its own, but you've got to be pretty efficient Brailleist to deal with the speed at which stuff is flying in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Can you do speech on demand and full speech? Both. I mean, I know you can do it in JAWS. I presume you can do it in NVDA, can you?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
You can. Mm-hmm.
We're lowering your hand. Mark, you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. I do a lot of recording with Zoom. Can I get it to record in MP3? Or I've got to bloody well convert it every time.
What's it coming then?
I think it's MP4. I can't remember now, but it's not, not something that I like.
It's probably because it's trying to do the video as well.
Ah, that's why.
Even whether people's videos are on or off, it's just kind of trying to do everything. But
I think it does a video and an audio.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to stick with MP4 basically. Fair enough.
It's looking like it.
Unless there's something in the account settings to alter it, but you can't just do it within the meeting.
No, I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
Cool. Another thing that's been happening in the last few months, I just heard one just now where it tells you about exclusive offers and things in Zoom, and it does put you off your game. But just press the control key. There's not a lot you can do about it. Is
that if it's a basic account as opposed to a paid for account?
I think it does it in everything. So I'm assuming, this is definitely a paid account. Mine is a paid account. Even when it used to be a free account, it was telling me things. You can tab right to the very end of the options, and there's one called close with offers. It'll still talk, but less frequently.
Yeah. Okay.
Just lowered Mark's hand. So we've covered chat. There's just share screen, and then I think we'll let people play with stuff because it's nearly half. So share screen is Alt S, as in S for sugar, and that will bring a list of options to share your screen. You don't really want to mess about with advanced or any of those. You want to tab to share sound, because presumably that's what you want to do. Now, sometimes sighted people forget to do this and they're playing a piece of music and you can't hear anything, so just remind them to share sound. And share sound is a checkbox. So share sound, checkbox. not checked or unchecked, and then you press enter on share screen. And then when you finished playing or showing whatever it is, then pressing Alt S again will just de-share your screen, for want of a better phrase. On the landline, you can't do it. On a smart device, it's swipe right to share screen in the different options.
Could one ask if lots of folk, when they're running a webinar, want to put their slides on the screen in whatever way they do that, is that accessible or not?
No.
I didn't think it was.
Yeah,
but
so
I wanted the host to say
whether it's webinar or meeting, in webinar, you won't have permission to share your screen, by the way, if you're a participant.
Sure.
So that's that, really. It's only the people running it who will do that. Teams behave slightly differently.
It does.
And don't, let's go down that
we won't
rabbit hole right now. I will say that for the sake of argument, if you forgot how to mute and unmute yourself or turn your video on or raise your hand and everything, you could just tab on the computer or swipe on the iPhone. Smart devices. And that is the same if you're in Teams or Google Meet or any of them. You can just tab to these different things. Because the keystrokes are different in Teams, but they do the same sorts of things. Google Meet, just quickly, is the keystrokes. I've tried them and it's kind of intermittent as to whether they work or not. But tabbing will work, whatever you do, or swiping if you're in a smart device. What were we saying? Oh, share screen. Yes. So slides aren't terribly accessible in any case, unless they've been done in a text file, like the actual original PowerPoint. A lot of the time doesn't have text in it. It just has graphics of text. So someone's photocopied something or some other thing, and then put it on the computer as a scanned image of text. That looks like text. Don't get me started on all of that. So, unless the PowerPoint has been done well, then you're not really going to get anywhere. But it's academic because sharing screen just shares the image of the screen. So all the speech program will tell you, that's if you're using speech. Obviously, if you're partially sighted or something, then you can look at the screen and magnify it or color contrast it or whatever. The rest of us will just hear that so-and-so has shared screen, and sometimes it doesn't fit the screen, and click this or that to fit it to the page. That is all the information you will have. If you want the text of whatever it is, either get them to read it out or get them to send the text of whatever it is afterwards. Hello, Tina. What's your question?
Right, here I am. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
I wouldn't have minded waiting until you finished. So I was going to say, because I like to add like Zoom meetings, like especially if they're a regular occurrence, or it's every month, to my Google Calendar. Is that easy to do?
I'm not particularly good at Google Calendar, to be honest. What I tend to do is copy the Zoom links into Word documents. Bit low tech, but yeah, there are buttons in Zoom invites sometimes that is press add to calendar, and then after that I'm not entirely sure what you do. It might be automatic. Sometimes it adds them automatically if you've been invited personally. So I've got a few in my Google Calendar where it lists them as notifications.
It does,
and then it will give you a half hour earlier reminder and all sorts.
Sandra, just quickly, Gary, have you got anything to add there?
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No problem. I'd probably come to a full stop.
I thought I'd ask because
of course.
It's interesting because when I've tried to do it, I've had to get Ian to help me, and I like to try and do things myself, but it's not always possible.
I know what you mean. I mean, I don't like the calendar. I don't like any of them. So
I just say good morning to my lady A, and then then if I've got any events, she'll tell me, you see, which is good because I've got to set up for that.
It depends if you get a meeting request, then it tends to work a bit better, doesn't it?
Yeah, if someone has invited you personally, then it will add to the calendar automatically. So, for example, with different events, so I volunteer for crews, and there's different trainings every 5 minutes. And if you've registered, that's what I'm trying to say in a very rambly way. If you've registered for something and you filled in your name and your email address and press register, then you get an invite in your inbox, and then that is synced to your Google Calendar.
So if I go find the TAVIP thing where we're invited, like Jeff, when you send the information out.
That's right, and then there's a word that says join, isn't there?
And then if I go down to, do you have a Google add to calendar on your thing or not? I can't remember.
I don't think we actually have it as part of that.
Because I was going to say, if you did, then I could just add it to my calendar.
I've just gone back to the email that was sent this morning, and there's no add to calendar that I can see in it.
Oh, it does. But would that be your particular one, or would that be the TAVIP group, the TAVIP one?
Yeah, it might be, mightn't it?
Perhaps it's something we need to look at, put into it, Jeff.
If we can make sure it doesn't come just in our calendars, whether the people who join. I think what tends to work better, and we don't do it, is the individual invites. Where people, as Sandra just said,
when you register for something, that all just happens.
Lots of things happen that doesn't happen our way, basically.
Well, maybe we could talk more over it on Take a Break, because I'll bring my gadget with me, so we might get time to chat about it on a Take a Break.
Yeah.
Good idea.
That's okay.
So now we've got more questions.
Thank you very much. Anyway,
no problem. What I tend to do with these things, it might just be my inner low tech person, is I write my appointments down in a diary on paper, and I copy and paste recurring links into Word documents. That's what I do for my own meetings, by the way, if we get time, which we probably won't. Like setting up meetings and scheduling them and all that kind of thing. I paste the links into Microsoft Word documents, and I keep them as separate documents. And then when I want to open that meeting, I open that document and then copy and paste that link into a browser and open the meeting, and then I'm the host and all of that. Okay,
well, thank you very much. It's just that my Zoom meetings, I just put on my Google things, so when I just say good morning, if I've got anything on that day, she'll tell me. That's the only reason why, though I do use the old paper method as well. It's just like a backup.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Just to say, I won't be around next year, but just to say, if people particularly wanted to follow on from this, there's no reason why we couldn't organise it. So,
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, we haven't done breakouts or anything.
There's a lot to cover, especially people.
There is, and I vastly underestimated the amount of questions and highways and byways we'd go down. Anyway, I remember thinking 90 minutes, that's overkill.
And I learned an interesting lesson at the beginning of the meeting, which was that what I'd done, I'd left my computer on doing things on it all day, and what would have been good practice would have been to close it, I think, and start again. And then I think I might have had less aggro, but there we go.
Oh yeah, I try and shut mine down a couple of times a day. And my iPhone as well, because my iPhone's been behaving very badly over the last few months. That's another story. Hasmet, if I'm saying your name badly or mutilating it, it looks like you've got a question.
Sorry, you talking to me, Eleanor?
No.
I wasn't, but I know you have your hand up.
You've raised.
Yeah, Hasmuk. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that.
Hang on, Hasmuk has his hand raised.
This is Hasmuk.
You start first and we'll move on. Yep, I can.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about sharing screen.
Yes.
You said Alt and S for sharing screen, right?
Yes, but you need to make sure that you share sound.
So how, after doing Alt and S, do you tab to share sound?
Yeah, you tab, and then the sound is a checkbox. So you need to press space on that to check it, and then tab again to basically share screen.
And that is in Zoom?
Yes.
And how about Microsoft Teams?
No, I'm not talking about Teams tonight.
Okay, so in Zoom, do you have to choose any screen? Are there options which screen you choose?
No.
Like have 2-3 options because that is what happens in Microsoft Teams. So I can't remember whether that also is in Zoom. Like you choose desktop or window.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, as I said, I'm not talking about Teams tonight. But yeah, in Zoom, there's advanced options which you really don't need unless you have different screens plugged into it. Like, let's say you have a laptop and a big fat monitor or something, which you might have, if your boss decided you might have a CCTV or something.
I'm just, this is because when I'm invited to do some accessibility research, they want me to share my screen with them. And sometimes it is an issue, and I don't know whether, So I don't know whether people who set up this, is it set up like every organization has got different way of setting it up, or is it just standard way of accessing it?
Well, if you're in a webinar, you can't do this. But if you're in a meeting like this one, you can share screen, provided the person running the session has enabled share screen for participants. So if you press Alt S and it says that the host isn't allowing people to share screen, then you can tell the person who is running the session to go into the security settings and enable participants to share screen. Because they may not notice or know how to use it. Because I've noticed that particularly with a lot of sighted people, and I am being very able-bodied-ist, and I make no apologies for this, have no idea how to use any of this and just kind of click things and guess. So you can tell them how to use it, basically.
So if they ask me to share my screen, I've got to tell them to go to their security settings, and there will be an option to share a screen. Is that what you mean?
Well, that is an option to let other people share their screen.
Yeah.
If you find Alt S doesn't work, if it's working, you've got all your options, then they've already done it for you. And all you need to do is, so you only share sound if you want to share sound. So I was just saying that because I know that a lot of people want to share music and stories and stuff. But if you just want to share your actual screen to show people how something works, and you don't really want them to hear your JAWS or your NVDA or whatever it is you have.
They want to know because they are just trying to find out whether the task they give me, whether JAWS work with that.
Okay, then you need to tab to press share sound and make sure that checkbox is checked, and then tab again until you get the option to share screen and press spacebar on that, and you're good to go. And then when you finish the sharing, you press Alt S again, and it takes that off their screen, and you're back to your own device.
But Sandra, just quickly, you eloquently spoke earlier, and I would agree with you that generally when people share their slides, it doesn't work and they're not accessible.
No, it's not accessible. It's just sharing an image of the other person's screen.
Yep. So what I mean is, have to be very careful if we're talking about accessibility with sighted people, because clearly if they may well be under the illusion that what they're sharing, your screen reader is reading, and generally it isn't. So
then it's up to us to tell them what's what.
Indeed.
We have to teach people all the time, so there's nothing new there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No probs. Eleanor, you had another question.
Not a question.
Okay.
I would just like to say that if other Windows users have the trouble that I was having earlier with the focus drifting into other windows, you can, in fact, close everything else, including the Zoom launch window and the Microsoft Edge window.
Yes, etc.
My laptop just says Zoom meeting 1 of 1, and I'm happily in the meeting.
And now lowered alert.
Thanks for the tip. I just lowered your hand. Adrian?
Hi, yeah. I've just had a look at that share screen. I didn't actually do the whole thing, but I did the Alt S. Now there's something that comes up called share sound mode. What does that mean?
No, just don't worry about it.
Just don't worry about it.
I don't know what it means. I don't really want to go there.
Right. And also, just for anybody's interest, if like me, you happen to be using a USB sort of like a interface. In this case, I'm using a USB audio mixer with a microphone plugged into it. You can actually play sound directly. You don't have to go into share screen and share sound. If I play something through this mixer, you'll hear it as in a direct, not through a microphone, but a direct audio link. It can be quite useful if you've got if you're using something like that. So you don't have to mess around with share screen, share audio. And finally, the other question was, when you do share the screen, am I right? Assuming you've only got one screen, we won't confuse it if you've got a laptop and a monitor because that gets too confusing. But if you just got one screen, does the people at the other end, as it were, do they see when? Because obviously, if I shared my screen now, you'd see my Zoom window.
You would.
So would I be right in saying that when I press Alt Tab to whatever I wanted to show you, it would then show you what I was looking at?
Correct.
Thank you.
So you would need to make sure that nothing incriminating was left on, because you could easily Alt Tab to something else by mistake.
Good, yeah.
And people will see it.
Or is that not necessary?
Oh, that's interesting.
I would, just so you don't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do all that before the meeting if you know you're going to be sharing things. Because what you don't want is, we can't see that, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
You realize how berserk excited people get when they can't see something about 3 seconds. And it takes a lot of willpower on my side to be like, well, I put up with it for 35 years.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly. Okay, thank you, Sandra.
So, Sandra, do you know how you want to handle roughly just under quarter of an hour that's left, whether you want to do some revision? Because as you say, there are some other more complex features that it's not sensible to go into now because you could probably only half cover them.
Yeah, and I thought people wanted to play with stuff and experiment with things. If people wanted to, I mean, people.
Mitra's asked a question. Did you see?
Yeah, I did hear it, but I can't remember it now because it went past too fast.
Shall we let Mitra speak?
Yeah.
Mitra, where is she?
I think she had to go though. She couldn't find raised hand on the smart device.
And she's on at the moment.
So it would be under reactions if you couldn't find it on the main screen.
Reactions.
Which I did say about 1 million years ago, but I think people have had several birthdays since I said that. But yeah, if it's not on the main screen, because sometimes it isn't, so it should be raised hand on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, but if it isn't, then reactions.
So, I was going to say, Mitra's currently unmuted, so how would she... Oh, she's unmuted, that's fine, isn't it? Sorry, it's me. Losing the plot here.
And then the saving chat is, if you go to chat and then under more options, and then it will save chat to your computer somehow.
So you have to open chat.
Yeah,
so and then hear me.
Yeah, can hear you. Yes,
Sandra, sorry, I'm here. So it's the raise hand is on the reaction. Did you say?
Yeah, if it's not on the main screen, then it's yes.
Yeah. Okay. And for saving the chat, you have to go to chat, and there's an option under that.
Yeah, and then it's under more options. I'm not familiar with it. I think Gary is.
Yes, no, I'm on my phone and I'm not quite familiar with this. What I find strange is that from time to time, I have done Zoom on my phone, but it seems as if you don't always see the same options
No,
at the
it
bottom.
doesn't. So sometimes it will be raised hand on the main screen. Sometimes it'll be under reactions.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
And I haven't
sometimes
seen reaction before, actually. This is the first time I'm seeing reaction.
And
Yes.
sometimes
Anyway.
reactions won't be in the same place either.
Yes, yes.
And it used to be under more. So not reactions, it used to be more. So you might still see that sometimes. If you don't see raised hand and you don't see reactions, you could try more, as in more options, and then raised hand will be in there. If you swiped right too far, you end up in a list of emojis. So just swipe left again if you find yourself in clapping hands, because there's sometimes you're raised hand, clap hands, Bob waving hand. So swipe left again if you find yourself doing that. And Gary's gone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can't ask him. No problem. So I don't know if anyone wanted to experiment with anything like sharing screen or chat. People seem to have the hang of muting and raising hands and stuff like that.
So were you saying earlier, you said once you start the chat going, you can't shut it up, or you were implying that. Do you want to expand on that a bit? So you do Alt-H.
Yeah, and then you say something or ask something.
Yeah.
But then you Alt-H again to close it.
Yeah.
But if people are still chit-chatting, it will still read it to you.
Even though you've closed it?
Yeah.
Because what? Because there was stuff there before you closed it, does that mean, do you think? Or
I have no idea. All I know is that if I haven't...
Oh, Mark wants to say something.
Hello world. Yes, we got that.
Okay.
I find that on the smart devices, whether you've said anything or not, it will read everything. On the computer, it won't read it unless you actually have opened it first.
But once you've opened it, even if you close it, it's still going to drone on, is it?
It will.
Okay.
So that's why I said choose carefully whether you want to speak or not.
You did indeed.
Because once you start that, it won't stop. Unless you take the drastic option of turning your speech off and then possibly missing important things, like your battery's dead. That's why I leave it on at all times. Because I don't want to miss stuff like that. So did anyone want to try anything out? It's 52.
Poor souls are shell-shocked. Adrian.
Hello, Adrian.
I don't need to try anything out. I've looked at that dialogue, but I do find I think the Zoom interface on the PC is quite glitchy. For example, when I press Alt-A or Alt-Y, or whatever, it makes this doing noise, like it's almost as if it's an error. Like Windows makes. I don't know if it's just my computer. That's the first thing.
I think that might just be this room, because there are options in the account settings to turn noises off and on, like chime when people are coming in. Because I've been hearing that this evening as well. It's not an error.
It's quite disconcerting because it sounds like when you press the wrong key, it's that sort of noise. It's like that. But
I think it's just trying to be helpful.
It's doing weird things like sometimes the first time I tried to press share screen, I was on the Alt-S. I was actually on that button, so I pressed space, and instead of doing that, it unmuted me. And then I shifted tabbed around again, and then I did it again, and it worked. And I find this with Zoom, and sometimes the focus, sometimes when you come out of something, you're not where you expect to be. You have to
and that is because when people are speaking or exiting or entering the room, it will alter the focus.
Yeah, and also,
which we did cover that.
If you open a dialogue, so for example, the share screen dialogue, if you don't press the actual button that says share screen and you tab again, it doesn't actually, there's no cancel button, so you have to press escape. It's just little things. I think it could improve but just one final question from me. I'm sorry I've gone on too long. What is the difference, and this has only come up recently when I've been in a meeting, between leave meeting and end meeting? Now, and obviously if I was hosting a meeting, I would assume end meeting would mean edit for everybody, but obviously if I'm not the host, I shouldn't be getting that option. Or am I misunderstanding what end meeting means?
Yeah, we all get that option. and we just press leave meeting. I don't think you could. I don't think you have that power.
No, I think it does. The host does, don't they?
Yes, the host does.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello.
Yeah, it's Phil T here. I just want
hi, Phil.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say thank you very much for the presentation. It's fantastic. I've learned a bit anyway. This F6 thing is particularly useful because often I've found that I just can't find the got it button. It just doesn't show anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really annoying. So I shall bear that in mind. So thanks very much. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it is useful because sometimes you can't, when you can't access the functions and you're in, especially, I appreciate how much I'm dissing able-bodied people, but especially in a situation where a sighted person is running it, they obviously sometimes don't know why you can't mute or unmute yourself.
I got some very good news very quickly. I got my sight back, some of it anyway.
Oh, well done.
Yay!
Had an operation and it's been very successful, so I can see a lot more now than what I could before.
Great stuff. Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Anyway, thanks a lot. Brilliant. Good.
Take care. Bye for now.
Well, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah.
Linda?
Yeah, hi Sandra. Thanks for this evening. I have a question. I was in a practice session sharing screens this afternoon and I couldn't get back to my Zoom meeting. No matter what I did, nothing happened. I mean, I've got a solution, but I just wondered what your take was on that.
Without having been there, I don't really know what happened to you, really.
Yeah.
So you shared your screen and you were in whatever you were sharing and then couldn't get back to your Zoom.
Yeah, and then I was trying to get back to my Zoom. I could only get back to the initial Zoom screen, which was obviously where you can start up your meetings.
Oh, wow, okay.
Now, I don't know why, but the only thing that I managed to do in the end by looking at internet was to do Control Shift and Alt, which brings up the control.
Oh, yeah, and then Task Manager, and then get rid of the other things.
Yeah, so I don't know why it was doing it, but it was working perfectly the other week, but it decided that there was a gremlin inside it. So, but Control Shift and Alt got back to the controls that I needed, to sort of like quit and share screen, etc. But it was quite disconcerting.
Have to add that one to the handout then.
That should be in the handout, shouldn't
it?
SOS yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that going to do? So you're going to see all your tasks.
Well, no, when you did Control, what had happened, I'd gone into Media Player and I'd come back, tried to go back into Zoom, and I could only go back into the initial Zoom entry point where you select the meeting you want. And I wanted obviously to go to the meeting that was in progress.
Sure.
So you pressed Alt-Tab a few times, or?
No, nothing would happen. Whether I mean, there was initially 2 windows open. It closed one window down for me, so I only had the initial Zoom meeting. But the way I did it in the end was to do Control, Shift, and Alt key together, and that brought up the control icons I needed for the meeting in progress. So
what did you do once you were there? That was my point.
I could do once I was there, I could do whatever I wanted. I could close the share screen and carry on with the meeting. But until then, I couldn't. I had no control whatsoever.
The host can stop your share.
I was the host.
Oh, right, yeah.
Well, what do we say?
But I just thought, as a get-out clause, you might be interested to know that that's what I did.
I would. Thank you so very much, Linda.
Yeah, no, sure.
Well, thank you for this evening. It's been very useful. And breakout rooms is another one that would be really, really welcome, because the other thing, if you don't mind, is that I was trying to do a breakout room and a few never entered, and that's because they weren't signed in. They didn't have their basic Google account.
So if they don't have a basic Google account, they can't use breakout, can they?
I've never heard of that ever.
Jeff. Yeah. Well, this friend of mine got kicked off straight away out of Zoom a lot because she couldn't join the breakout rooms. And whilst I haven't sort of clarified that, I think from what I read that you've got to have a basic account to join breakout rooms, but I'm prepared to be corrected on that.
That would be useful to know,
I'll
wouldn't
have
it?
to look that up. I mean, I've said earlier that we should have basic accounts because it's free and it stops mess in terms of updates and crashes and things like that, and you can name yourself properly and all those things. So yeah, that is brilliant. But yeah, breakout rooms is a whole other thing.
And a basic account will allow you to meet for what, 40 minutes or an hour?
40.
40 minutes,
and then it'll throw you out. You can come back in, of course, can't you?
Yeah.
Oh, Sandra.
Yes.
There's one little tip. You were talking about making all those weird noises, the computers. You can actually mute system sounds in the, if you go to the control panel and there's a thing in there that says mute system sounds on the control, on the sound.
I don't think you have to go that far. I think you just go into your Zoom account and just turn it off there.
Oh,
you don't have to do it to your whole system.
No, I'd be a bit worried about that.
Well, I hate the system sounds, so I've turned mine, rather than mute them completely, I've turned them down to volume 1 instead of volume 100%.
Okay.
I like them because if speech has crashed, I get a sort of a shadow of what's going on in the computer with system sounds.
Yeah, but you don't want them if you're doing a live show or something like I do. You don't want all the computer sounds to come in because it puts people off. So I just mute them.
Yeah.
When I'm doing my DJing, I just mute all the sounds. So
I see what you mean. Yeah, I see.
Okay, well, folks, we've reached 9 of the clock. So
Eleanor had another.
Yep.
Eleanor had another question or comment.
I just wanted to say that I use NVDA and I get a lot of the chat text spoken, whether I've pressed Alt-H or not.
Oh dear. Thanks for that. I found that, I've been using JAWS since I was about 12. And I've only started NVDA since July. And I found that it's been pretty quiet with the chat. But your experience is different. So yeah, the chat is the enemy to me, I have to say.
Is it anything to do with verbosity or not? Well, JAWS calls verbosity, and I might call it something else.
I don't think so. I think it's just a question of something is appearing on the screen. It's a screen reader. It's reading the screen. That's what its reason to be is.
Okay.
I think that's what that is.
Okay, folks, I want to draw this to a close. Unless there's any urgent question, I'd like to thank Sandra for her
brilliant
presentation and answering all the questions. Did a splendid job.
Sandra.
And
it was very good, and I think worth a follow-up session.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Mr. Cornby, who is
it's been a very good session.
Continuing trustee, will know about that.
Yes, thank you.
Well, you can thank David because I did his soft play session thingy, and he suggested me for this. So,
David
Reynolds.
Oh, David Reynolds. Right. Oh, yes. We I know about him. Yeah. I know him well. Okay.
So it was his idea to have me. So.
Well, an excellent idea, of course.
Right, good night then.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, night.
Thank you for that. 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 Thank you for that.